How do you still enjoy things like pancakes and waffles when you're trying to be a healthy human being? I'm going to show you a little bit more in this video. And the main thing we're going to focus on is what kind of syrup you put on the top of it. Now, you can make any food you want healthy as long as you learn how to identify ingredients. I'm going to actually go through a label, Mrs. Butterworth. As you use this as a kid, maybe it's in your fridge right now. I don't even know if it's constituted as syrup as you're about to see, but then show you what's in the Livingoods fridge when it comes to syrup. My kids regularly have pancakes. They regularly have waffles. What are they using? What are they doing? How are they putting this together? Let's break this down in this video. But first, let's compare Mrs. Butterworth with real maple syrup. Let me take you right to the label here. Check this out. Just went on Walmart, looked up the actual Mrs. Butterworth container. We have this lady. She's, she seems sweet. She definitely is. It's thick, it's rich. You get 50% more in this container than the leading size. There, it's $4. Okay, this is the stuff I did sometimes when I was a kid, and I want to take you right to this label. This is where you have to go, especially when it comes to syrups, but any ingredients. Read the ingredient labels. Ingredient number 1, high fructose corn syrup. This is the #1 cause of fatty liver. This is the #1 driving force now of metabolic syndrome, which is high blood pressure, high cholesterol, high triglycerides, type 2 diabetes, pre-diabetes. You have got to stay away from these things if you don't want those diseases or if you're already facing one of those. So the first ingredients out of the gates, really, really, really toxic. If you actually eat it, you're okay. If I were to inject it straight into your bloodstream, it would compromise your life. It's scary. Second ingredient, corn syrup. So this is in no means, it doesn't have maple syrup in it. I know they don't call it maple syrup on the front, but the perception is that this is maple syrup. It doesn't even contain maple syrup. It has corn syrup. So that corn syrup going straight to the liver, creating obesity problems, creating fatty liver. They saved us with a little bit of water as ingredients 3, thank God, right? But then we go to the less than 2%. Don't let that fool you because it doesn't take much volume of this stuff to really cause a big problem. Cellulose gum is holding it together. A little bit of salt in there. I'm sure it's not a good form of salt. We're getting way too much processed salt. That's going to have an impact on your blood pressure. Now, real salt is not, but that's not what they're using. I'm guessing Mrs. Butterworth not caring about real things at this moment. Cane syrup is then added because we needed a little bit of more sugar. Caramel color is then added. Now, there is definitely a problem with this because there are a few different types of caramel colorings on the market, okay? And these types of caramel colorings, however, the most widely used one is called 4-MEL, all right? And so I'll spare you all the biochemistry of it, but this byproduct has been stirring up a lot of controversy. This caramel coloring, anytime you see it, I would stay away from it, but this one specifically that's been used a lot has been shown to cause cancer in rats. And so California took the initiative to actually put this on its known lists of carcinogens. So that creates a big problem, and there's now petitions to the FDA to ban this type of caramel coloring because it's linked to being cancerous. But if it causing cancer isn't enough or isn't enough proven to pull it from the shelves, it's also linked to high blood pressure. So this stuff is one of the fastest ways to high blood pressure. Your husband might need to know that one. Your wife might need to know that one. It also decreases the amount of white blood cells and can cause severe allergy reactions, especially those that are sensitive. So this is all going down just in a bottle of Mrs. Butterworth. Let's keep going on the ingredient list. So next up, sodium hexametaphosphate is the next one that we're seeing. This one here, you might not have heard of before. It's a mouthful. It's an emulsifier. It's a texturizer. It's used in a lot of foods, and it's also used in toothpaste as an anti-staining agent. But it shows up in Mrs. Butterworth's syrup, and the FDA recognizes the ingredient as generally safe. However, that doesn't hold a lot of merit when it comes to the FDA, but it has short-term side effects of headaches, nausea, vomiting, and dizziness. It also can irritate your GI system. So it's a problem. And without the balance of other nutrients in your body offsetting this sodium hexametaphosphate, you can get a buildup of phosphate in the system. Now, if you have too much phosphate, if you're a cancer sufferer, you know that this negatively impacts your bones, your kidneys, and your heart. And tested on lab animals with this phosphate material, it can create swollen kidneys. And then that's going to pull calcium from the bones. And then you can have unusual muscle fiber changes, with the most important muscle being your heart. also can irritate your skin, and it's been linked to pancreatic cancer. So not looking good, Mrs. Buttersworth. You're trying to be maple syrup. You're definitely not. You're destroying our livers. You're really hard on our heart and our kidneys, and you may lead to cancer. How is this stuff still being sold? Let's keep going and look further. Next up is sodium benzoate and potassium sorbate. Always looking out for these two ingredients. These are heavy hitter preservatives that are added in. They create a lot of problem. Now, it's really commonly used, sodium benzoate, for example, as a preservative in foods. It helps to prevent spoilage of the high fructose corn syrup because that's going to go rancid. But then somehow when you put it in your body, it doesn't even make sense. They literally have to have something in there so that the high fructose corn syrup doesn't go rancid. So there is evidence that this creates hyperactivity in kids, and it can react with vitamin C inside of your body. So not only is it going to use up the vitamin C in your system, but when it is exposed to heat and it does combine with vitamin C, it can create benzene. Now, benzene is the one we want to watch out for because that is a known carcinogen. So it reacts with vitamin C, it reacts with heat, creates benzene in the body, and now we have a toxic level of it going in something that is synthetic that can create damage to our DNA and can lead to Parkinson's disease, as connections to that, and liver problems on top of it. So really bad rap for Mrs. Buttersworth here. Lots of sugar, lots of liver damage, lots of heart damage. What do we look for and what do we do? I actually don't have that big a problem with maple syrup. The challenge for you first is to clean up your eating, to go on a sugar fast from foods just like that, eliminating the other sources of cane sugars and high fructose corn syrups and syrups in general and carbohydrates, and fast yourself from sugar. Allow your body to readapt, lose the weight, overcome some of the conditions that might be driven by those, like high triglycerides or cholesterol problem. And once you sort of reach your goals, is what we call it in Livingood Daily, then you can enjoy things like a pancake or a waffle, and you can even have some syrup. When we do take a look at syrup, let's go to the one that's in my fridge right now, okay? Here's what we're looking for, okay? A dark maple syrup that's real. We want the real stuff. Now, the darker that it gets, the more antioxidants are going to be in it. And one study found that 24 different antioxidants exist in real maple syrup. And the darker ones, like the grade B, has the more beneficial antioxidants than the lighter ones. You're definitely still going to get sugar content here. When we flip it over, we should just see one ingredient: organic maple syrup. That's it. Just use the real stuff. Know that you're going to take a 24 sugar gram hit. Know that you're going to take a 27 gram total carb hit. But maybe you did a workout that morning. Maybe it's a vacation meal for you. It's okay to be on vacation every once in a while. You just can't be on vacation every single day. So darker organic maple syrup. We also like to bake with this. And so if you need to add in that little bit to your cookie or to your bread recipe or your biscuit recipe, maple syrup can be a really good option. Nurse Livingood uses it regularly after you've hit goals. When you don't have a blood sugar, blood pressure, blood cholesterol, triglyceride, or liver problem, having some of this occasionally is not a big issue. Now, when it comes to the waffle or the pancake themselves, Birch Bender is one of my favorite brands, and you can get multiple different types where it's made with either an almond flour, a cassava flour. They have a paleo version, they have a keto version. You can look for these. I like cassava because it's a root flour that is not going to spike your insulin levels as much. You can avoid a lot of the grains that are involved there, and we still have delicious waffles or delicious pancakes. So the flour, in that regard, when you look for these more natural mixes of pancakes and waffles, doesn't become as big as the problem as the syrup. So I want to make sure you don't mess that part up. Real maple syrup is what you're looking for. This is the one that we tend to use, but you can find just an organic one at your grocery store. And there you go. Now, if you want some help with what type of waffle, what type of pancake mix, check out the store link below. Certainly we don't make it, but it's our Amazon Market link of some of the stuff that's in our household. You can still enjoy every food you like, even a breakfast favorite of pancakes or waffles with some syrup on it, as long as you know what to watch out for on the ingredient labels. So dig into that. And if you want some help with what sweeteners should be used or shouldn't use, whether it comes to your pancake mix or things like maple syrup, I broke down the 25 most common sweeteners that we are regularly messing up, overusing, shouldn't use, or should focus on. And it's in-depth training. This is the next up video. Check it out.